What's up, my little gremlins? I am back out in the garage. It has finally cooled off. It doesn't feel like I'm in the depths of hell now. So I'm going to take advantage of the evening. I start back up on nights tomorrow until this weekend. So not going to have too much time till this weekend to get out here. But I am in a super push to try to get this truck done. A lot of crappy situational stuff has come to rise, and I really have to go gangbusters on this truck and try to get it back on the road. I spent my last days off hand shoveling freaking 25 tons of rock that I got dropped off into my driveway. So obviously I didn't spend those days out here. I spent those days destroying my back and my hands out there. So that's one giant thing off my list of to do. I did go ahead and get a GoPro. I do have some footage. I've got to still download a program and start figuring out how to do all my crap there so I can get that video up on here. So I am starting to accumulate the content in a different format. I've never done any editing, so that's going to take me probably a while to figure out what I'm doing. So I just am kind of giving you guys a small little update. Let you know I'm still here. Let you know I'm still working on this. Trying to get it done. Get the push going. Basically, I have a video showing how to do add leafs on the back of the 1500 Chevy. It's, to those of you who work in four-wheel drive shops and do this stuff on the daily, I understand why you guys charge so much for lift kits, because this stuff sucks. Like, it's not as straightforward as you would think. So, essentially, we had to drop the front eyelid here, take the entire spring pack apart, finagle that all in there while putting the add-a-leaf in here, which, of course, creates more spring tension, which makes it more of a pain in the butt to get that eye back up in there. So that's what I'm going to be working on this evening. Hopefully I can get that done and then start on the driver's side. It is slowly starting to come together. Once I get these backs done, I'm going to go ahead and get the new wheels and stuff on here. I'm sure you've seen in the videos, this bed is like black and beat the crap, and it doesn't match the truck. It is not the original bed. The original bed, much like the original frame, was so rusted. All the cross members were rusted out. The bottom of the bed was rusted out. Whoever owned this truck before my father-in-law had it, must have just sank this thing into lakes nonstop with a boat on the back. That's the only plausible thing I could think of as to how the rear end of this thing was so rusted and the front wasn't. But this bed is still not even bolted down. I still got to address that. There is one bolt that's broke off in the frame that I'm going to have to drill out. So I'm going to have to clean the bed out, find a home for everything, much like the rest of the stuff in here. That is another thing I've been doing, is slowly trying to organize stuff. I bought some little bins and stuff like that, so I'm going to look at some little lockers. I basically need to start going through. I have so much stuff from so many different projects, some of which I don't even own the vehicles anymore, so it doesn't make sense to keep holding on to them. Some of the stuff is from my brother's Nova, which unfortunately was stolen and never recovered. We have no clue what happened to it. That's a whole different story in and of itself. And in a 2-week span, I know of 3 people who got their Novas stolen. Just Novas. Not even including other cars that got stolen, but Novas in general, 3 in a week, which is absolutely mind-blowing. So if that's something you want to hear about, I can always ad-lib a little something there. Click on the old blibbity bloops down there. Let me know. But I have some parts from his car that at this point has been gone for a couple of years now, so likelihood of it showing up is almost zero. And unfortunately I can't get a hold of him. He's kind of gone off the radar. So I got to figure out what I want to do with these parts. They're kind of up in the rafters, so they're not really hurting anything. So I may just hold on to them. One of them is a rear quarter. We both had 70s, so same exact rear quarter. My driver's side quarter on my Nova, I did myself with the help of an old friend of mine named Mark, and it's good. It just needs finished. It's finished welded and everything. I started, priming it, or not priming it, but body filling it, making it all smooth and stuff. There was a couple other dudes, so I'll throw this back a while. I used to be in auto body class back in the day, and then I realized I didn't want to do that for a living. So we took my car up there, and while we were in class, we did inner outer fender wells on the back, which I was dumb. I should have just done what I really want to do and put some mini tubs in it, but I didn't do it at that point, like an idiot, so I'm gonna have to take those out eventually and swap them. But me and Mark worked on the driver's side. Two other dudes from the class worked on the passenger side. The passenger side quarter is like they were gonna end up, I'll show you, trying to pie cut this back because they didn't line everything up and welded it too low, and now it has a big bulge here in the center. So they were going to try to pie cut that out and fix it, and I just told them to stop and leave it alone because it's a mess. So I am more than likely just going to cut that thing off and replace it with the other new one that I have over there in the rafter. I've got new ones for both sides just chilling up there. I have another door skin, which I don't need because obviously I have two brand new door skins on here. My bumpers are up there, front and rear. Those I don't think are going to go back on in the chrome format that they come factory. I got to do some digging, but eventually I think I might try to actually black them out. Either I may go black chrome, or I may figure out how I can get them to where I can get them painted. I haven't fully decided yet. That car is 1,000,000% on the back burner right now. It's got some issues with the trans has been pulled out 3 times now. It's the original 307 with a power glide. When I rebuilt the motor and everything, this car was completely torn apart. I mean, subframe, everything out of this car. Took it out originally, rebuilt the motor, did a cam swap, stuff like that. I know it's only a 307. I don't really care. It's not a drag car. Eventually it's just going to be a little cruiser car until down the road. I have bigger plans for it, but that's all down the road. But we threw the old power glide back in there, filled her up after replacing the pan gasket, and I wasn't going to go deep into the transmission. I'm not a tranny guy. I'm not about to start pulling shit apart that I don't know where it goes back and then just screw stuff up. So I basically pulled the pan, swapped the filter, swapped the vacuum thing on the back, and then put it all back together. It's possible that it got overfilled because I had a buddy here who was helping me, and he put the tranny fluid in. So we got this thing running. This thing used to run. Well, it'll still run with gas in it and stuff, but it was running. I took it out, drove it around the block, did a burnout like an idiot. Brought it back in here, came out the next day, all the tranny fluid was on the floor. So I dropped the transmission back out yet again. I saw nothing that would tell me why. I wanted to make sure basically that maybe I hadn't, fully set the torque converter or something, but it all was bolted together. So I don't think that was the problem. I pulled it all back apart, refilled up the torque converter, made sure it was all set, got my 2 clicks into the block, bolted it all back together, resealed the pan again, put tranny fluid in it, and it's leaking the fluid back out. So I don't know what's going on with that transmission. I may end up just having to pull it, yank it, and send it down the road to get rebuilt. Have someone who actually knows what they're doing look at it. There's not a lot that I won't attempt to mess with on a car or a truck, but transmissions is just not something. Transmissions, I don't know how to set lash and stuff on rear ends, so I'm not going to mess with them, besides like axle seals, stuff like that, the easy stuff. Transfer cases, I don't know nothing about it. Basically all that stuff that has all them gears in it, I'm not touching it. Maybe later on down the road when I am a little more confident in myself. You know, YouTube is a great thing, but it's easy to watch a guy who's done it 10,000 times and be like, oh, I can do that, and then you get in the middle of it and you're lost, and then you don't know which clutch plate's going on where, and you know, yeah, you can take it apart, put it back together exactly how it came apart, and hopefully it works. In the end, that motor and transmission are not going to be in there when I finally like get the car where I want it to be. On old stuff like this, you really can't say finished because they're never done. They're never done. You're just never going to be fully happy with what you're doing. Plans change, things like that. My plans for my life change currently at like a day-to-day basis with all the different things going on. The people who know. If you don't know, there's probably a reason for that. But that stuff is out there. So those kind of things are getting there. As far as for the rest of the truck, I gotta order new front brake lines, the actual line portions. I'm gonna replace those on here. I have to go rent the tool to swap out the keys in this thing, for the keys that come with the rough country lift for the torsion bars. So I still got to rent that, put that in. I got to grind on the front diff to clearance that because it sits lower, obviously, so that your angles are still good. I have to cut one mounting tab off and then replace it with a bracket that comes with it, and then throw that back up in there. And then basically once I get the steering all put back together, after I get the front diff back in and lube all this stuff up, the lift kit and everything will be done. It'll be on to, you know, fitting the new fenders, fender wells, core support, and then, you know, hooking up the odds and ends, radiator, probably gonna have to get a new condenser, that kind of stuff for the AC, hoses, and then it's gonna come down to wiring, because like I said in past videos, I've taken this thing from a TBI to just a carbureted setup. So there is a ton of wiring for the TBI stuff that I'm not going to use, and I either got to figure out how to tuck it out of the way or what I got to do. I believe, looking through wiring schematics, found the actual ignition wire that I've got hooked up to the distributor. So once I get all the body panels on, which I might not put the body panels on yet, I may just check on all my wiring that needs to be hooked up right now, make sure everything's where it needs to be, throw a battery in this and see if it'll at least crank over. I still have to run new fuel line, so I would rather just see if it'll turn over and crank before I get fuel and stuff to it, because if it's not right, I don't want it trying to blow itself up. Timing wise, all of that stuff is good. Everything was done. We set it to top dead center before I put the new distributor in, stuff like that. Always making sure that, you know, it's gonna, at least the distributor and everything's gonna be lined up with top dead center. If not, you're gonna be probably 180 degrees out. You're gonna wire all of your spark plugs incorrectly to the distributor, and it's never gonna start, or if it does, it's gonna run like absolute dog turds. I mean, you're gonna have misfires and all sorts of crap going on. So That's a tip. Anytime you're changing out a distributor or something like that, make sure you get the engine to top dead center before you pull the old one out and put the new one in. That way you've got all of that lined up. So your plug wires all line up right. I do have to go through. Originally had bought a cam that I thought was going to work in here, and it is not going to work in here. So I, like an idiot, before I even made sure, you know, pulled all the lifters and stuff out. So I've got to go through and reset all the lifters. If you need to do that, honestly, a great video, and it may not be what a master technician is going to tell you, but there is a Vice Grip Garage. Shout out to Derek. Dude's amazing. That guy can start a potato with what he finds on the ground. That guy's insane. He finds, you know, cars that have been sitting for decades upon decades and goes out and gets them running and drives them home. If you have not checked out Vice Grip Garage, I would recommend it. I have learned so much just from watching this dude's videos. And he's a character, man. Insane to watch. I wish I had his personality. I don't, but I wish I had it. Dude's awesome. But he has a video of rebuilding a small block where he goes through and explains how he sets lash and then preload on all the valves. And so when I get to that, I'm going to reference that video, and I'm going to go through and set it up the way he does, and I'm going to show it to you and explain it to you best I can. I don't know this stuff like he does. He's got decades of experience that I don't have, which is why he's a good tool to watch. I mean, the guy is amazing. So check out Vice Grip Garage. You can learn a lot just by watching stuff from him. I've learned a ton just by watching his videos. The man is a guru in what he does. I also, either when I hit a wall on the truck or I get this thing where I need it to be, because I still got to wire in the winch. I got to wire in all the lights for the bumpers on top of the wiring for the truck. I did also go ahead and order from Speedway Motors. So anyone who's got weird stuff, building rat rods, hot rod stuff, everyone out there has probably heard of Speedway Motors. They have a lot of just universal stuff out there for hot rods, rat rods, stuff like that. I went ahead and ordered their 22 circuit wiring kit. It's just a general wiring kit for pretty much anything out there. Comes with, you know, all of your wiring that you need front to back. It comes with your relays. It comes with your fuse box. It comes with all the fuses. Every single wire in here is factory color coded. Now they do use GM coloring coding, which is really fun. Doesn't matter. Like this here is literally all the stuff for the alternator starter, headlight ground, and wiring kit. Not only is the bag labeled, all your connectors are on there, including the ends for connecting through the firewall. This kit comes also with your like headlight switch to be put in the floor like GM style. This thing comes with turn signal, so like GM style, older 80s style turn signal that I can mount in the car that will be wired in. So it'll turn on all the wires and everything, all of your wiring itself. So you've got your whole bag of the rest of your ends, connectors, relays, fuses, absolutely everything is in there. I also have a 12 volt to 6 volt reducer because we are still going to use the original blower motor that is in this car, which is obviously a 6 volt. Everything else will be converted over to 12 volt, but I don't want to mess with trying to figure that out. But all your colors, all your wires are color coded, and they are actually labeled as they go along. So your wires, I don't know how good you'll be able to see it, but they are physically labeled as to what they go to. So all down the entire length of the wire, it will tell you what the end of that wire is going to connect to. So that when you get back here and you start looking at, like, this is just the turn signals, it tells you every single color. And then it tells you absolutely everywhere that these things pigtail into. Whether it be, you know, this goes to your alternator ignition, and this one's 12 volt battery ignition feed, which basically means it's also a power, but it's only going to be on when you have the ignition turned on. So you have 12 volt keyed, and then you also have 12 volt constant. So there's two different variations of 12 volt within your car when you're turning stuff on. So basically this kit, I have not messed with it. I have never in my life wired an entire car from front to back. I have had to rewire the Nova to the backlights, but that's it. I just did the rear, basically. This is absolutely everything. So it comes very detailed, shows you every color, shows you every single wire, shows you every single plug-in, shows you best type of you know, alternators that you want to use, how it hooks up to your starter solenoid, your ignition switches, every wire for underneath the dash, color coded, where it goes, what you need to ground, what you need for power, you know, absolutely everything. Your lights for the rear, brakes, it even has an accessory feed wire, so if we were to, say, hook a trailer to this thing, I have the wiring back here where I have the capacity to wire in trailer wiring. I don't think we'd ever do that unless we, down the line, built this thing for like a drag and drive kind of car. It would never compete with, you know, the big stuff out there. But, you know, this kit, it literally was just a couple $100. I think in total with the other voltage relay that I bought, I think this thing came in at like less than $250. So we will do a video on all of this. That will probably be a multi-part video down the road once I get done with the truck. But we have plans for the future. I'm not gonna, you know, just stop doing this just because nobody watches it. You know, if one person out there sees this and gets some sort of, you know, information from it that could help them down the road, then, you know, I've done my part for the automotive community, basically. That's what this is all about. You know, the automotive community is one of the most wholesome, just integrated, greatest people on the planet. Doesn't matter creed, color, ethnicity, nothing. You will go to a car show and you can see everything that you want to see. And you're going to see stuff you don't want to see. And even if you don't want to see it, you know, you show up to something that should be a hot rod show and there's a kid with a Honda Civic. Nobody's going to bash that kid. Nobody's going to go over there and, you know, dog him and tell him he has to leave. And we are a hugely accepting, very grateful, very open group of people that basically, you know, stick together through thick and thin and help each other out. You know, imports are not my thing, but I can respect the time and the work that you put into them. Same thing with donks. Donks aren't in my forte at all. Not something I want to ever build, but I can respect the time and effort, and them things can haul some butt. Like, I'm not knocking donks at all. There is donks out there that can flat out get down. And it's interesting to watch. It's fun to watch. It's cool to watch, you know, but it's just not my thing. I do have some bigger plans down the road beyond the 3 cars that I have in here. I also have 2 cars at my brother's house that I have to... Those cars are basically, we're just going to get them up and running, I believe. So those are littler, maybe not so little projects, but So in total right now I have 5 different cars that I'm kind of responsible for working on. And it's going to be a push. I may end up having to forego a lot of hunting this year for some personal stuff that's going on in the family, which, you know, that is what it is. Family comes first. Always remember that. There's always going to be another day to go sit in the woods. There's always going to be another day to go sit in the garage and tinker. There's always another day to, you know, rock a driveway or put up fence or whatever there is. There may not always be another day with some of your loved ones. So keep that in mind. You know, your family has to come first. You know, if you got a wife, you got a husband, you got kids, your parents, grandparents, you know, everyone's getting older day by day, and you never know what's going to happen. You may not have another day to get out here and work on your car. And hopefully, you got some family that also likes the car. So at the end of the day, they're not just looking at a dollar sign. They want to get out there and they want to finish that project for dad, or they want to move that project forward for dad, and they're going to call in everybody that they know and all of his dad's friends, and or even moms. There is a big movement for females coming into the car scene, and I absolutely love that. Love to see more females out there into the scene. You know, a lot of them are into import stuff, drifting, stuff like that, which is cool shit. Like, every time my son and I go to, you know, the Midnight Madness down the road at the track, you know, there's people out there, they have a drift course going. They've got, you know, bring whatever you want, run it down the track. You'll see dudes with a bone stock car running an 18-second mile or quarter mile with the biggest smile on their face because they got to take it to a track and race down a track, you know. There's only certain things in life that are going to get your blood pumping. There's only certain things in life that are going to get you excited to a level beyond the everyday mundane. You know, for some people it's driving fast. For some people it's shooting a big buck or a turkey or a bear or whatever. You know, all of those things can be great. So do what you love, man. Like, I'm not doing this for the love. I'm not doing this for the likes. I'm not doing this for the views. I don't get any comments. There's really literally that nothing comes from these videos, except for the satisfaction that it forces me to work on my stuff, is how I look at it. Because these cars have sat here neglected for years. And if me making these videos and forcing myself to make the time instead of, I just want to sit on the couch and do nothing tonight, it's bettering my mental acuity. It's making me think. It's making me come out here and work, you know. Sometimes you just got to give yourself whatever kind of motivation to get stuff done. And these videos are a part of my motivation. A bigger part is the push for this truck to get done. Because unfortunately I need to get this done so that a loved one can see it back on the road. Because their time is inevitable. We don't know from day to day what's going to happen. And this truck has been a giant part of their life. And I cannot sit idly by and choose to sit on my butt and watch TV instead of getting this and taking that person for a ride in it. Because that person deserves this more than anything. And, you know, if you have a car that you enjoy driving, even if it's your daily driver and you just throw a set of wheels on there or something, or, you know, you just drive it, there is always someone out there that you are going to pass standing at a bus stop, driving their own car that may be, you know, beat up and 30 years old and on its last leg. Everything that you have is a dream for someone else. And I want everyone to remember that, because it doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter where you work. It doesn't matter what you drive. There is someone out there who is pining to be in the position that you are in. So don't forget that. Everyone wants to do better. Everyone wants to have, a nicer car, a bigger house, more money, whatever the case may be. Everyone longs for something better. But what you have is better to someone. So if you drive your car, that could be some 5-year-old kid's dream car. It could be a Nissan Altima. And that 5-year-old, that's his dream car right now. Not every kid has a poster of a Lamborghini or a Ferrari on their wall. There are kids who strive to not have to walk everywhere and would absolutely love their dream car could be your Nissan Altima. So if that kid is seeing you and he's smiling and he's waving, just remember, you probably just made that kid's day. There's enough crap going on in this world that we kind of forget about the small things. I do it too. I have a wonderful family. I have a very good job. The hours kind of suck, but I have a good job. And it's afforded me to be in a position where I can actually start working on the stuff I want to work on, whether it be on the house or the cars or, being able to buy my kid a new pair of football cleats without, worrying about also putting food on my table. There's a lot of people who have to struggle with that. It's pay the house note or don't eat. Or, I can't get my kid football cleats unless I go get a personal loan. There's always someone who would love to be in your position. So just remember that. As always, man, if you happen to drop by, catch my videos, give me a like, give me a subscribe, give me a comment. Tell me what you're thinking, man. You need somebody to talk to, shoot me a comment. I'm willing to listen. You got tips for me, because Lord knows you're basically learning how to work on cars from someone who's slightly more competent than the average person. There's a lot I don't know. I've never done lift kits. This is all new to me. I have not worked in a garage setting on cars in over a decade. Tesla didn't exist when I stopped working on cars. Honda had just come out with the Insight. Priuses were just now coming out. I got out of the game when EVs started to come into this game. I got out of this game before there were Chargers, before there were Challengers. I got out of this game, a long time ago. And I have probably forgot more than I should have. Because at the end of the day, when I was working on cars every day, the last thing I wanted to do was come home and work on my own stuff. So this stuff has just sat neglected. And then, you run into life, money. You either have time or you don't have money, or vice versa. And I've finally found a job where I'm afforded both of those things. And now I'm getting snowballed with a bunch of other life things that are more important. But I'm still trying to make the time to come out here and get this stuff done. So, push yourself. Whatever that takes, whatever you got to do, set a goal, start with a small one, finish it. That will motivate you to work towards the next small goal. And just keep doing that. Everything in life is just a stack of small goals that you complete. You check off a box. graduating high school or not graduating high school, getting a job, getting a car, you know, finding a compatible partner, whether that be, you know, same sex or whatever works for you. I'm not going to judge you. That's your thing. It doesn't have any effect on me. So make that little checklist, man. Set those goals. Just get out and do something. You will feel way better accomplishing the tiniest of goals. Even if your goal is to put a bolt in every day. If your goal is to, you know, get out there and rebuild a whole front end in a day. Whatever that goal is, do it. And it'll force you to want to do more. Same thing with weight loss, man. I am a 42-year-old dude who is the biggest I've ever been in my life. I am not a huge guy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, you know, morbidly obese. But I'm not happy with where I am. But I know if I just keep sitting on that couch, that's not going to help me do anything. Small goals. Getting out here and working on this car is going to do more for me than not. It accomplishes 2 goals. It gets me up. It gets me moving. It gets my body working. And it gets me one step closer to getting this thing back on the road. So, love you guys. Reach out. Leave me a like, subscribe, comment, hit me up. Give me some tips. Tell me I suck. Whatever you got to do. I appreciate it. I read every single one. I reply to every single one, which is pretty easy because it's usually like one. Shout out to my boy Clay, Clay the Farmer, I believe, on YouTube. Dude does some awesome work. My buddy Gersty runs the shop that I used to work at. Has helped me out with some, you know, mountain wheels and tires and stuff like that. I'm going to be hitting them up because I got to get an alignment done on another car and stuff like that. Reach out to the people you care about, man. Friends, old friends you ain't heard in a while. Check up on everybody. You know, I just got a message today from a friend of mine I used to work with who literally was watching a VOD from when he used to stream and, you know, just wanted to check in on me, see how things are going. It's the little things in life that matter. Reach out to people. Even if they don't respond. You took the first step, man. Like, beefs are stupid. You know, there's people in my life that I could go my whole rest of my life without talking to, and I'm still cordial to. Nothing is that serious. So I hope you guys are having a great day. I know that was kind of just a long talk of nothing. I'm going to try to get some more film. I'm going to try to get this stuff going on the truck. Like I said, I do have a video that I've got to figure out editing software and stuff, and then I will get that put up at some point. You know, I'll have little updates here and there for you guys while I try to figure all that out and actually get some actual content video on here. That's all new to me. It may suck. If it does, let me know, because I know it's going to take a lot of time and effort to do, and it still is probably going to suck. But give me some feedback. Until then, stay safe. Don't do nothing stupid. Keep all your fingers. Don't let them get, like, eaten up by, you know, shoveling 25 tons of rock. But y'all have a good day.